Oh, welcome back. In this video we want to be talking about resistance against following our intuition, because this is what is to be expected, and every resistance comes out of fear. We believe our mental intelligence, which is part of ourselves, which is not the entirety of ourselves, knows better than our entire system intelligence. Well, who are we to assume that? Who are we that we are smarter than our heart? You see what I mean? But unless and until we've made the experience that our life works out even better if we do surrender and go with the intelligence of our heart and loosen the connection and the link with our mentality, like this, strong connection that everything that the mind dictates is necessarily true and is so. Once we let go of that and see okay, sometimes I don't receive an intuitive impulse as well, so I don't know what the heck to do. But at some point, just when I need it, the impulse will come and I will follow my heart because I trust life. Because in supporting life, life supports me back. If that's kind of your core relief, belief, it's a core relief, so to speak, and your life will work out. If you can live from that place, your life will be magnificent. But it requires going through the fears. And again, all resistance comes out of fear, of the unknown, the unsure, the unexpected. You remember those bullet points from the last slide that we had, but this is what it's about, going into your fear. This is where resistance comes from. Resistance against your nature, resistance against the things that you don't like about yourself, that you don't want to see and don't want to acknowledge that they're actually there. The pure sheer fear of letting go of the things that you identify with. Many people, the mental identity is kind of so dense that even challenging their opinion, which is in their perspective part of who they are, challenging their opinion can make them furious. And so imagine what it's like to fear that your whole mental identity of who you think you are, it's gone, it's blank, you're just in life and you don't know what to do. You're just pulled by attraction and you don't know when it comes because you can't force it. That's major fears, and a lot of resistance comes out of that, and we will see resistance patterns in just a moment. Also the loss of control, as we said, really inquire about when are you fearful of losing control, in minor ways or in major ways, in having not all the things work out the way you want to, in believing that you can't do anything about it, in feeling overwhelmed. In all those moments we feel the loss of control, loss of me being in charge, me being in the driver's seat. And the reason is, in life we aren't. We all have to, if we're smart and really open our eyes to life, we can't escape but to make the learning that we can't control life circumstances, what happens to us. This is not within our reach of control. And everybody who goes through life being blind up to their old days of that circumstance and still believe I'm in the driver's seat, that's big time delusionary. So we need to face that. This is just life. We don't have any control. You see? And also the fear of not getting what we want and getting what we don't want. We need to face those fears. They are to be expected. And I read you the same bullet points, the same slide now twice, because expecting the fear is part of the way. This is the most important thing to learn, not the practice. This is what you will figure out by going with your heart as well. But to not be delusionary that your life will be just easy. It is facing those fears. And the reason why your heart suggests something to get rid of those fears is because being fearful in one area of your life impacts so many other areas of your life as well. It's not just you're fearful of losing your job. When you're fearful of losing your job, you're also fearful of losing love, in your relationship. You're fearful of losing your child. You're fearful of, and in a minor way, they are kind of normal because they're experienced by everybody. But when they get overwhelming and we don't face those fears and kind of integrate them, they create havoc because we live from a fearful place. And this is not what nature wants us, because there's really not so much to fear. Real survival threats, yes. Earthquakes, yes. Wild animals, yes. But losing your job? No. But we believe so. Losing the love of your partner? No. it has no survival threat to you. And I mean, again here, just a quick disclaimer, try to find the applicability for you and not the reason to disprove what I say. Yes, there might be some cases where this doesn't apply, but generally you know what I'm saying, don't you? Well, now let's take a look at resistance patterns. What are our most common patterns when we feel resistance? Now we know every resistance, all resistance comes out of fear. It's always a manifestation of the fear. And if you don't detect the fear, and if you feel like, well, fear is not a big deal for me, like I don't have a problem with fear, if you're unconscious of that, then you have big time fear. And then it's a big, big thing that you really need to look deep into, because if you're even, like everybody has fears. That's just a fact. We can overcome them so they don't dominate us anymore, but everybody growing up into adulthood, we have certain fears to overcome. And for you to tell yourself, you don't have any fears, this is the reason why you should really look into that. Anyway, resistance patterns are just doing things the old way. Like, well, this intuition thing, no, I just do the things the old way, and then you come up with the reasons, you know, like, because I've always done that and it just makes sense, and it's only like, you know, 14 years to go to retirement, you see what I mean? Like, you justify that out of fear, because you don't want to see, well, really, what if I quit? No, then this happens, and from this fear, from this place of fear comes the justification, well, I do the things the old way. This is kind of a resistance pattern, going with what makes sense instead of what feels right, and that's a big mistake. Also, coping mechanisms to deal with the fear. For me, it was like big time overeating for a lot of time, you know, many times in my lifetime, and for many years. So what is it for you? You know, maybe it's smoking, drinking, whatever that is, to deal with the fear. If you see those coping mechanisms, also stress. Stress is always based on fear. It's just fear in disguise. Because when we have stress, for example, of not making it to an appointment in time, it means that we value the other person's opinion and that we're kind of dependent upon the other person's opinion. At least we value that. So we fear that by losing this validation, or maybe the contact, or maybe what's at stake in the meeting, we lose that, and that gives rise to the fear. That's why we're stressed. If we wouldn't care, it would be just, well, I come too late, I do apologize when I'm there. But now I don't have any reason to stress out. You see, stress is fear in disguise also. So coping mechanisms to deal with the fear, and stress coping mechanisms as well, these are big time resistance patterns, and well, look within yourself. You find them for yourself. I can't delineate them for yourself. You need to do that. I can only give you like the general framework. You need to detect them for yourself. And yes, then thoughts and justifications arise that either, you know, say like, yeah, this intuition thing doesn't work. You kind of discredit and disprove of this method, so to speak, this way of life, living from the place of heart. Yeah, it doesn't really work. Well, I don't know what to do. It doesn't work for me. Well, I don't have that. I don't feel that. I don't have time for that. If I was, you know, a bit younger, like your age, I would do that. But right now, you know, if I had as much money as you have, you know, I would, you know, do that. If I was free and happy like you are, I would, like, coming up with reasons, you know, or like reasons why it doesn't work. Like, this course is stupid, this intuition thing never works, you know, Florian doesn't know what he's talking about, like, you know, all those people, they're just phony guys, like, follow your heart, what's that kind of stuff, and you discredit that. All that comes out of fear. So catch yourself when you're being when you justify doing things the old way, and when too many thoughts arise, because so many thought patterns also arise out of fear, we just don't see that. Well, yeah, that are those resistance patterns, and let me stress this once again. Every resistance comes out of fear, and most thought patterns of justification and whatever goes on mentally is part of this fear, manifestation of this fear. So the reason why so many people experience those mental noise patterns, those neurotic thoughts, is actually because the thoughts want to point you to the fears in order for you to look at the fears, and you will quite drastically experience, when you really make it like the decision that you follow your heart and you let yourself be pulled through the fear, like, your mental chatter becomes less and less, naturally, effortlessly. You don't need to switch it off by learning meditation or something like that. There's nothing to defy. It's like a pointer. You know, why do you want to get rid of the traffic sign that tells you you're in the wrong direction? I mean, be glad and grateful that the traffic sign tells you to turn around and look different, like at something else. You see, in the same way, our thoughts are like the wind. It's kind of energy exchange. You know, when you have wind, it's like a mass of air which is charged positively and a mass of air that's charged like negatively, and in the difference of those energies, wind is there to kind of balance out this energetic deficit. You see, that's the movement of the wind, rebalancing. In the same way, our thoughts rebalance our emotional wounds that are kind of in the minus position, that they are lacking energy and attention. And so in the same way, here we have like too much, you see, like too much thought movement and going in this way towards our fears in order to balance that out. So when our awareness touches upon those fears and they are being resolved and released, then our thought process also stops. So another great thing about following your heart is that your mind becomes pretty quiet, which is a nice thing because you actually see life as it is and you feel more. So it all goes together. It's like an entire circle of self-perpetuating, self-amplifying things that happen for you for your best. Like, yeah, anyway, this being said, that's all you need to know for this video, and see you in the next video.